where to go. They're pretty good at that. That's Deb, Andy, and Dylan. Thanks, Bill. We really appreciate what you do.
Drive a 1967 Chevy C10 short box. On the side of the door it says Chaz Tuma's Garage. That was the garage in Elba in the late 70s, 80s. And I bought the truck from his estate sale. And when Charlie was alive, we'd be Charlie. So I was like, oh no, you don't want it. So the estate sale happened while I was on deployment. I said, Dad, buy the truck. $800 later is mine.
Right on.
So I've had it probably going on 15, 16 years now. So I've rebuilt the straight six in it, put a 4-barrel intake with a Holly on it, split manifold, it's airbag, got a 5-speed.
You said airbags?
Yeah.
So it's on bags?
Yeah, it's on bags.
Okay.
Yeah. Last year before I bagged it, I also have a gasser, and I flat towed my gasser to Julesburg, Colorado and back with that truck.
Right on.
So
it's a truck that can work and will.
Yeah. If for Charlie it was just another tool in the box, every cross member you can see where a chain has pulled a tractor or a pivot out of the ditch. You know, it's rough and crusty, but that's just how it's always been.
So what's in it? What's been done?
Well, we got it and my son drug it home in 1979. The neighbor had given it to him. And he drug it home and we started to work on it. He was 14 years old. And the starter was out. We bought a new starter for it. Started it up and the rods were out of it. So we parked it. And a year and a half later, my son died in a car accident. Never touched it again until a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And I pulled it in the garage and we started doing all the body work, everything that's done to it, I done. good, bad, or indifferent.
Right.
And a week ago, we drove it over to Minden to get the title inspected. And that was the first time we ever drove it.
Perfect.
And then we drove it back home, and then we drove it to Kearney and had new mufflers put on it. And then we come down here to go on the car tour with it.
What's the motor and transmission?
It's a 216,
Okay.
flathead 6,
Flathead 6.
and it's a 3-speed with an overdrive.
Okay.
All the t-shirts from all of the different tours.
Okay.
And they're not in order, but they're the ones that I liked and the ones that he did not trash. Where,
Okay.
you know,
The ones that didn't become shop rags.
right, exactly.
Okay.
And I used the fronts for the quilt, and I used the backs to make pillows. And I think I've probably given away 5 pillows to different people who have a tendency to sleep on the tour between towns.
All right. So what's the story on the car?
Oh, there's
Several years ago at the Fremont swap meet in Fremont, Nebraska, this car was sitting there with a for sale sign on it and a telephone number. So I took down the telephone number. I called the lady a couple days thereafter and said, I'd like to come over and look at your vehicle. Well, I got over there and talking with her. Her husband bought this car new from Charlie Deere's in Fremont, Nebraska for their 25th wedding anniversary. And he had passed away. And she said, my kids tell me I have to get a newer, better car. Had 32,000 miles on it. And I said, well, that's a beautiful car. And she said, yes, I've had a lot of kids that looked at this car and it's really not a kid's car. And I said, no ma'am, it's not. The engine was overhauled by a friend of ours in Hooper, Nebraska. This is the last engine he overhauled. He had Lou Gehrig's disease. He actually did it in his garage rather than his shop. And when I picked it up, I turned it on and brum, 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 brum. Then Terry said, I put in a racing cam. So,
Awesome.
what is it? 289.
All right.
Dennis Gabriel from Fullerton, Nebraska. I acquired the car in October of '79. Ongoing restoration project for 43 years. It was a train wreck when I first got it. I was working at the John Deere shop in Fullerton, and I was the setup mechanic, and one of the diesel mechanics was driving it to and from work. Driver window wouldn't go up, the top was leaking, the carpet was rotted, and at coffee break one time I says, Bill, you need to sell that to somebody that'll take better care of it. And he said, who? And I said, me. It had been wrecked on the back quarter. He had hit a cow with the right front fender. Like I said, it was a train wreck. So I put it in the body shop that winter, and I took it apart as far as you could go without doing a frame off, and stripped the body down to the bare metal. Learned the history of the car. It had a rough life. It had been in a front end collision. It had been hit on the back. It had been sideswiped on the passenger side. The driver door, left rear quarter were the only original panels on the car. I helped a neighbor move from one town to another town, and he says, well, what do I owe you for helping me move? And I says, oh, come on, we grew up neighbors, played as kids together. I got something that you want. It was the original 350 block that came out of the car from the guy that I bought the car from, and he bought the engine from him.
So tell us how many tours you've been on.
This is my 27th tour. I did not know about the first one, and when I heard about the second tour, it was already past the sign-up date. So, but I knew about it, so I was sure to sign up on the third year. I had heard that there was some legislature in Nebraska that was kind of like they wanted to do a clunker junker legislation like in California, and I went, no. And then I found out that NRCA was basically a watchdog organization to pay attention to this, and got to be part of that. Every year is a different route, different area of Nebraska. I grew up, born and raised in Nebraska all my life except for the 6 years that I was in the military service. So, and Tour Nebraska takes you to parts of the state that you might not normally go to. The Sand Hills, not really interested in it. You get into the Sand Hills, beautiful. This cruise was great.